Before the Memphis Police Department releases this video, the video of the 5 MPD officers murdering Tyre Nichols during a routine traffic stop, and that heinous video inevitably goes viral, I want to amplify this video of Tyre living his best life. It's just really sad because that's not how the public is going to remember him. Once that body cam comes out, that's all people are going to be playing.
Memphis Police Department has condemned the killing of Tyre Nichols, who died of kidney failure and cardiac arrest on January 10th, 3 days after his violent arrest following a traffic stop. 5 Memphis police officers and 2 fire department employees have been fired in the wake of Nichols' killing. An independent...
Dude, it's crazy how all the cops were black, too. Isn't that wild? You would think at least like 1 or 2 of the cops would not be black. 5 cops, all of which are black. Isn't that kind of wild? I've never seen it like this. There maybe has been like 1 or 2 black cops, but not when all of them are black. I think that's why they are getting fired and charged so quick, too. Oh, that's a great point. You might be onto something, Gomez. Let's be real. If they were white, they wouldn't be getting charged fast. You know what? I was surprised at how fast they got charged. Now this makes sense. I didn't know they were all black. Well, usually I come on stream not knowing shit, and then I learn with y'all, and then I provide my commentary. That's usually how I do it. But I was aware of this case and whatnot. I was not aware that all of the cops were black. That's interesting.
An autopsy found Tyre suffered extensive bleeding after officers...
Well, the body cam is coming out tomorrow, 6 p.m. Tennessee time. So we'll see tomorrow. We'll see how bad the body cam is. I think if the body cam is bad, like really bad, I feel like the whole entire country is gonna get up. We'll see. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Pepper sprayed, tased, restrained, kicked, and beat him for 3 minutes. Police Chief C.J. Davis urged Memphis residents not to turn to violence or property destruction after body camera video of the assault is released.
Oh shit, you already know Memphis is going up. Memphis is going up. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Memphis is definitely going up. And when Memphis goes up, the whole entire country is gonna go up. Watch. It's gonna be just like George Floyd. That's literally what happens every single time. First the city goes up, and then the whole entire nation stands up. And it's crazy because we've been protesting the same thing for like 6 years now. We'll see. I'm definitely going out if there's a protest. I got tear gas so many times during 2020. I'm not scared of no tear gas. I'm out.
This is a failing of basic humanity toward another individual. This incident was heinous, reckless, and inhumane. And in the...
Oh, you know it's bad if that's what the police chief is saying. If she's saying it was reckless and inhumane, child, you already know. You already know that body cam is gonna be
the vein of transparency. When the video is released in the coming days, you will see this for yourselves.
A federal prosecutor has launched civil rights probe into the killing. A 2016 lawsuit says one of the 5 officers who have been fired for beating Tyre allegedly assaulted a prisoner. In New York, former Columbia...
I don't have to tear gas myself to work on my tolerance pistols. I live with depression. I think that alone is enough.
University OBGYN Robert Haddon has been convicted of federal sexual abuse charges, including sex trafficking. Dr. Haddon sexually assaulted dozens of women patients over 2 decades, including Evelyn Yang, the wife of the former presidential candidate Andrew Yang. Among the Haddon was found guilty of luring patients across state lines for examinations during which he assaulted them. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams called Haddon a predator in a white coat.
I want to know more about Tyre, so that's what we're going to do.
He was a human piñata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed...
All right, we're going to do a trigger warning on this. Obviously, this is something I need to cover. This is more than likely going to be a story that we're going to continue to cover, given how the nation decides to react. Hopefully, they will react accordingly. Personally, as a self-proclaimed kind of anarchist. Not really, kind of. I personally believe in fuck their shit up, but many other people don't, so...
Non-stop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes.
Oh my God.
You just listened to a description of the violence that 29-year-old Tyre Nichols suffered on January 7th after he was mercilessly beaten by 5 police officers once they pulled him over for reckless driving. Now they left him in critical condition and he died 3 days later. Now, the police officers who took his life are being charged. The Washington Post reports 5 Memphis police officers fired last week in connection with the beating death of a 29-year-old black man were jailed on Thursday and charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and kidnapping, according to Shelby County jail booking information. After viewing body camera video of the arrest on Monday, lawyers for Nichols' family said he was kicked, punched, and tasered less than 100 yards from his home. A police spokesperson said officers pulled Nichols over for alleged reckless driving, and Nichols fled on foot before he was ultimately arrested. Now, Tyre's father believes that he fled because he was afraid. And for good reason. Nichols' family attorney Ben Crump revealed that police pulled Nichols over in unmarked vehicles. Now, Motor Biscuit reports that Tennessee...
They actually fired these cops before the story got out. That's how serious it is. I would like to also note that the cops were all black. Now, I'm not saying that to excuse what they did, but I do feel like a part of why they were so fast to fire them is because they were black men. I do think that if it was 5 white men or 5 men who were not black, they wouldn't have been so quick to fire them. So I was a bit surprised by that as well. But once I found out that they were all dark-skinned black men, it made a lot more sense that they got fired so quickly because I have personally never seen anything that fast. So, DB Golding, I think it's still important to note that they were all dark-skinned black men, and many brutal things have happened with the police in the past 5 years, and it has never been this fast of a charge and an arrest, ever. So the fact that they were black is irrelevant. You don't think the fact that they're all dark-skinned black men has nothing to do with it. Hassan said that the system in itself is fundamentally racist regardless of the police being black. Well, I agree with Hassan. I agree. ACAB, all cops are bastards. Like, I get that. I'm not one to say if you're black, that means you're a good cop. If you're a cop, you're a cop. If you're a cop, you prescribe to the cult mentality that they have. But what is also important to note is that this type of shit, this type of really gruesome shit with police brutality has happened before, and they have never been arrested this fast, or charged, or fired. Ever. Ever. I've never seen it. There's no record of this happening this fast. Why are you acting like I'm not gonna be shocked by the footage? They would be on paid vacation if they were white. I agree. I totally agree. DB Golding, if you've never seen anything so violent, then you've clearly never followed any of the wars we've had in the Middle East. Did the police officers that were involved alongside Siobhan, they got fired, but it took a while until they got fired. Like a while. And also, they weren't all dark-skinned black men. I mean, look at the George Floyd. It was serious, brutal, but because of a white cop, trial set months and months out. Exactly. And they were suspended. Exactly. It took way too long with the Floyd incident. I'm telling you, I've never seen it happen this fast. I have never seen it happen this fast. Ever. And I've been following news for a pretty fucking long time. Like, usually, the chain of events is like, okay, police brutality happens, public finds out about it, public outrage, public pressure, usually paid suspension or paid leave, more public pressure, and then you might be lucky if you get a charge. You're super lucky if that charge actually ends up in them rotting in prison. This chain of events, I've never seen it happen this fast. Although I do agree, yes, it was probably brutal. I mean, we're not going to know exactly until tomorrow. I still don't fully get why they beat him to death. I don't think anyone does, Sea Ghost. I mean, the statistics of cops getting charged, do you know how much they had to protest for the cops in Floyd to get charged? For the fucking Trayvon Martin shooter to get charged? Like, it's not, they never charge and fire the cops before public outrage. That always happens after public outrage. I was watching Hassan early and he was saying the same thing. I think so too. Yeah, I'm telling you. I think it's a couple of reasons why. Number one, I think it's because they're all black. I think it's much easier to fire and charge all black men rather than 5 white cops. Number two, I think that after the George Floyd uprisings, these polices are like, they're the police stations and they're just really scared because they don't want a whole entire nation to stand up. But then again, falling back on the second reason that I said, that still doesn't make sense because we've had police brutality since George Floyd, and it still hasn't ended up in such a fast firing and such a fast charge. So either that video clip is really brutal, which I think it is, it's because these 5 men are black, which I think that's a part of it too. And number 3, the police station already knows that they're they know that they're either way. So they're trying to like save their asses before. But even with all of those reasons that I just said, this is still very unusual. It's still incredibly unusual. Actually, I would like to go as far as to say I've never seen anything like this. I have never seen 5 cops get fired and get charged before public outrage, before the clip even hit the public.
He has no limitations on how police use unmarked cars, whereas other states do have limitations on the use of unmarked police vehicles. For example, California doesn't allow unmarked police vehicles to conduct routine traffic stops. But in Indiana, for example, a police officer in uniform can pull over.
I've also very rarely seen a police chief actually admit that the crime is brutal before the video even comes out. So I'm gonna assume the worst in this video. And I've never said anything otherwise, right? Like if the lawyer is saying that he was a human piñata, I can only imagine what the video entails. And I fully believe that this weekend is gonna be chaos. Not just in Tennessee, but like across the nation. I think Friday night, it's gonna be chaos in Tennessee, tomorrow night. And then I think it's gonna trickle down to every other state. Probably going to start with the more bluer states like New York, Oregon, California, and then it's going to trickle down across the US tomorrow. So that's what I personally think is going to happen. I think the video is going to be really bad. I think it's going to make a lot of people angry. And I think tomorrow is going to be the start of a bunch of uprisings. So we'll see. I don't know. I will say this too. A lot of people are fed up. Inflation is really high. A lot of people are getting laid off. We're kind of in that recession zone again. So I personally would not be surprised if, you know, shit starts hitting the fan, to be honest. We'll have to see though. That's just my best guess.
For someone in an unmarked vehicle, but if they're wearing just civilian clothing, they do have to be in a fully marked vehicle in order to conduct routine traffic stops. Now, when you have additional context, you really can't blame Nichols for being scared here. The Washington Post continues, Nichols' family said he suffered from Crohn's disease and struggled to maintain body weight, hovering around 145 pounds for most of his adulthood. At least 2 of the officers involved in the deadly encounter, Martin and Mills, played college football according to their booking information on the jail website, all weighed more than 200 pounds. Yeah, so just put yourself in Tyre's shoes for a moment here. You're pulled over by an unmarked vehicle and a big dude approaches you. You're a relatively smaller gentleman. I mean, I think it's logical to deduce that he felt threatened. He felt scared because maybe he didn't know what was going on. Had he been assured that that was indeed a police officer, then maybe he wouldn't have run. But either way, even if he knew that he was being pulled over by a police officer and he still ran, running from the cops is not a literal death sentence. It shouldn't result in a literal death sentence.
This news is not going to hit national headlines until that video comes out and people start protesting. That's just how it is. That's how it always is. Unless you have some sort of video of the brutality or it's some really up situation like Trayvon Martin, they're not going to cover it, or they're going to very vaguely cover it. This news though, personally, I think this is going to blow up next week.
But in this instance, it did. Now, the family's attorney, Ben Crump, says that the footage was so bad that it reminded him of the Rodney King video. So, it's bad. And the Memphis Police Department announced that all 5 officers were fired for violating department policy. And not only did they use excessive force, but they had a duty to intervene and a duty to render aid, which they failed to do. And even the police chief has condemned these officers, which really demonstrates how horrific the officers' actions were. Let's listen.
The Memphis police chief speaks out in a recorded statement, making clear there will be absolute accountability for those responsible for the death of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols.
This is not just a professional failing. This is a failing of basic humanity toward another individual. This incident was heinous, reckless, and inhumane.
So you know that video is bad when the police chief comes out and condemns it so forcefully. And as Twitter user Rebecca Pierce puts it, you know how bad the Tyre Nichols footage has to be if they're actually charging the cops in his death before releasing it? Exactly. It's got to be horrific. So the question is, when will they release the footage? Well, there's no definitive timeline at the time that I record this video, but according to NC5 reporter Hunter Hoagland, Tyre's arrest video is expected to be released on Friday, and they're expecting the public to react with outrage given how horrifying it supposedly is. Now, police violence against Black Americans is common, but I don't want us to simply brush this aside as if Tyre is nothing more than another statistic. The fact is that this was a human being. He loved to skateboard, and he was really good at it. He was a father, a son, a brother, and he felt pain just as you and I do. He had ambitions, he had hopes, he had dreams, but now all of that was taken from him due to these violent, murderous police officers. So let's learn about who Tyre was, because I think that further drives home the point that we're not just talking about another news story, another statistic. We're talking about a human being here.
Nichols was a driver for FedEx. He'll be remembered as a loving father and son, the baby of the family with a tattoo of his mother's name on his arm.
Nobody's perfect, okay? Nobody. But he was damn near. My son was a beautiful soul.
He liked to go to Starbucks most mornings, where he befriended an unlikely group of people. One of those friends tells CNN Nichols was a free-spirited person, a gentleman who marched to the beat of his own drum. He enjoyed skateboarding and taking pictures of sunsets. A friend who knew Nichols in Sacramento said this of him: he was his own person and didn't care. He didn't fit into what a traditional Black man was supposed to be in California. He had such a free spirit, and skating gave him his wings.
For this to happen to him in this way?
From my understanding, what had happened was they did a traffic stop, but it was unmarked cops, like an unmarked vehicle, cops that were not in uniform. He decided to book it and run because it's a bunch of big dudes coming up to his window, and then they beat him up for that. Well, apparently they did a lot more, but that's what I'm understanding. But I feel like we're gonna need to watch some more videos so I have a full synopsis of what actually happened.
The pain is just I have no words.
It's just devastating. His family described him as a beautiful person, and he mattered. His life mattered. He had a long life ahead of him, but that life was stolen from him by 5 violent, murderous police officers. And it's not just that he had his life stolen away from him. His family had him stolen away from them. And that is genuinely just so sad to think about. His sister...
Well, the important question is, are the cops saying that it was reckless driving? Who's saying that it was reckless driving, right? Because, I feel like cops will just say anything at this point.
And what she said was just... That really struck a chord with me the first time that I saw it, because you can see the pain in her eyes. What they're going through, the pain, it's almost palpable, but still I can never put myself in their shoes, because currently they're probably just in a state of shock. So what happened to Tyre is just further evidence that the entire system of policing in America is rotten from top to bottom. And not to sound too cynical here, but I just genuinely don't know how you can reform a system like this, where 5 police officers beat a man until he is in critical condition. It's nauseating, it's sickening, but this is a reality for mostly Black Americans and also brown people in the United States of America. The system of policing isn't to serve and protect, as we were taught. It is a police force, an oppressive force, a militarized force lording over civilians and treating them with no regard for their humanity, no regard for their lives. And it's sickening. But here we are.
I want to watch more videos on this. I feel like I need to get a better grasp of what's actually going on.
5 Memphis police officers have been fired following the death of a man during a traffic stop. They are accused of violating policies, using excessive force, and failing to render aid. On January 7th, Tyre Nichols was taken into custody. His family says he was brutally beaten by officers during his arrest and died 3 days later. The news sparked protests at the National Civil Rights Museum on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Hello, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. Greg is off tonight. Those officers now face serious charges, and the police department and district attorney are promising to prosecute. Tonight, Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis released a statement saying the Memphis Police Department is committed to protecting and defending the rights of every citizen in our city. The egregious nature of this incident is not a reflection of the good work that our officers perform with integrity every day. District Attorney Steve Mulroy said that he is asking for patience during the investigation, saying, "I don't take situations like this lightly, and I believe firmly in transparency. I ask for your patience as we gather all necessary information so that we don't compromise the investigation or any possible future prosecution." Our WRD's Ashley Paul has been following this case since it broke, and she joins us live downtown with reaction from city and community leaders. Ashley, what are they saying?
Yeah, Stephanie. Well, tonight we finally have some of those answers we've been waiting for almost 2 weeks. 5 Memphis police officers losing their jobs over violations in the case of Tyre Nichols. Tonight we spoke with friends and advocates, though, who say this is just the beginning. Excessive use of force, duty to intervene, duty to render aid. The violations are hard to hear for close family friends like Angelina Paxton, but she says this is a good first step to bring justice to Tyre Nichols.
I was very happy to hear that these kinds of people will no longer be the men and women, but in this case, the men that are sworn to protect us. I was very happy to hear that they swiftly got rid of that problem.
Paxton says the last 2 weeks have been difficult, but today's announcement just goes to show we need reform in law enforcement.
This is a very valuable lesson in that it doesn't matter.
How do you reform this, though? Like, genuinely, how do you reform this? I mean, Gomez, even if they do fire the whole department, then what? Rehire a bunch of new people? How do you reform this? Honestly. It's just like the minute you say defund the police, everyone gets turned off. Like, no one even wants to hear you. And then everyone resorts to the bad apple argument. Like, how do you genuinely deal with shit like this?
No matter what color our officers are, there is a problem systematically.
Josh Spickler with Just City, which focuses on accountability and advocacy within Memphis, agrees. He says it's critical the Memphis Police Department is transparent. He says so far that has not been the case.
If I were accused of murdering someone, my face would have been on your television station a week ago. Everything that you could find out about me and my past would have been on your television station a week ago. These police officers have, until just now, tonight, not been identified. We've still not seen.
What the fuck does bringing on mental health professionals do when they refuse to see therapists? They literally have a whole entire machismo culture of, like, going to therapists is weak. What are you gonna do? Convince a whole entire police department? Force them to go to therapy? Therapy doesn't work when it's forced. Therapy only works when you actually want to go and be proactive about it. That wouldn't work either, because then you'd have to defund the police, and no police station is willing to defund the police. Like, what is the solution to any of this? Yeah, it's police reform. How the fuck are you going to do it?
Any video of this incident, we still don't know anything more than there was a confrontation, right? 2 confrontations.
And while these are good first steps, they say they're just that, first steps. And they say these men need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
And that I really hope that...
I love your guys' spirit, but the crazy thing is they tried to do that in Oakland. Didn't work. They tried to take police funding and put it into the community and have responders who are not armed. They didn't do it properly. Crime went up, and then they ended up not only taking back the money, they ended up pouring more money than they did the year before they did that. Because they claimed that since they took the money, it rose crime in Oakland. So, yeah, most of the Black Panthers are in jail now. So that ended up really well, too. Firefighters bring stranded cats out of a tree, not police officers. Here's my thing. I get very exhausted having this conversation. Not just with you, chat, but with anyone. Because, like, when we talk about defunding the police, right? The fundamentals of actually defunding the police properly and building a new system from ground up takes a lot of time, takes a lot of expertise, it takes a lot of planning, and you have to wholeheartedly want to do it, right? You don't just take the funding and just start doing your own thing, right? You need abolition experts, you need sociologists, you need a whole entire plan around it. Like, okay, we're gonna have community guards or whatever, but we're going to put this money into social work, we're going to put this money into after school programs, we're going to do this, that, and the third. But defunding the police doesn't work if you do it half-ass. Because then if you try to defund the police but you don't do it correctly, you end up with a city like Oakland, where like, yeah, they took the money and they were technically the first city that defunded the police, right? But then a year later, they took that money back, and then they added more money, because they were like, oh, crime went up because you guys forced us to defund the police, look at what happened. But in reality, it was just a political stunt. Like, they didn't actually properly implement defunding the police in the way that they should have. So, do I think America is going to be ready to properly defund the police, break down the systems, and build it from ground up? Not anytime soon. No. We can protest for it and work towards it, but I wouldn't expect it to happen within at least the next decade. Just being realistic, because it's like, the minute you say defund the police, everyone like looks away. Everyone's like, no, we need the police. That's why Democrats went from the language defunding the police to reallocating funds. They stopped saying the word defund the police because defunding the police translates not that well to people who don't understand what that actually means. So they started saying, reallocate the funds and put them back into the community, right? So that more people can agree with it. That's why we went from defund the police to reallocate the money. But like in general, I think we have a long ways to go. I really do. Because we have the most left-leaning president right now, and he's been literally funneling money into different police stations that have police shortages. Ever since the first couple of months that he was elected. So the cops like to not do their job, to use power to say you caused it. I mean, the cops like to do a lot of things. Imagine if it was defund the police unions. Oh my god. Daft tracks? That would be World War III. Dems ain't gonna do a thing. No, they're not. Also, a lot of the Democrats are bought out by the police unions. I don't know if you guys know that, but a lot of the police unions lobby both Democrats and Republicans. Mostly Republicans, but they also buy out Democrats too and pour into their campaigns. Actually, I want to look it up. I want to see what politicians got money from police unions. Okay, let's see. Steny Hoyer, Julia Brownlee of California. I have no idea who that is. Alan Lowenthal. Amy Klobuchar. Oh, honey. Amy, why did you get $15,000 from the police? Ooh, the plot thickens. Not Amy Klobuchar. Sherrod Brown. Oh god, I love looking at this stuff. It's like dirty laundry out everywhere. What? Gavin Newsom? What? $314,000? Bro, that's supposed to be the most liberal option. Oh my god, I am like in shock right now. What the f? Total contribution state office holders from police unions. Wow. Almost 8 million in California. Even more than Texas. Almost 5 times more than Texas. Wow. The plot. Police unions and associations have spent over $48 million on state lobbying and contributing almost $71 million to state-level candidates and committees in the last decade alone, according to the years of data tracked by Open Secrets. California politicians attracted more contributions from police unions and their affiliates than any other state since 2012, with $38.5 million. New York follows them at $9.3 million over the same time period, while Texas is a third at $3.1 million. Okay, so let's ignore Texas Both California and New York are two states who have been trying to push for police reform really hard. So this right here, the fact that they spent $38.5 million in California and $9.3 million in New York, that doesn't surprise me one bit. Not one bit. Because yeah, they're targeting places who want to reform the police. They don't want that. California, New York, and Texas were also the top 3 states for police union lobbying spending in 2021. Out of the 19 states with spending data tracked from Open Secrets, these unions spent more than $2.4 million on state lobbying in California in 2021, over $1 million in New York, and about $916,000 in Texas. Police unions and associations have been collectively contributing over $121 million to state politicians, candidates. Okay, so it seems like the police unions like to target the state reps, but that makes sense that they target the state reps because the state reps are the ones that they want to be in pockets with, because each rep has a section, like has a city. So if you are cool with your state rep, that means they're not going to fuck with your funding.
My friend's life ended for something amazing to begin. I hope this is the beginning of change, real change, not the change that they promise us for years and years, and it takes generations to come. No, I hope this brings reform specifically to the city of Memphis.
Now, just to be clear, these are employment violations. Right now, no criminal charges have been filed. If they do come, they'll come from the
So that's changed. They have criminal charges now, multiple criminal charges.
The Shelby County District Attorney once the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation wraps up their investigation. For now, reporting live downtown, I'm Ashley Paul, WREG News, Channel 3.
All right, thank you, Ashley. WREG checked each officer's background and found no infractions against any of them until now. Officer Desmond Miles Jr. was hired in March of 2017. He's been on the force for a little less than 6 years. Officers Emmett Martin and Justin Smith both started in March of 2018, giving them just under 5 years in uniform. And officers Tadarius Bean and Demetrius Haley were hired August of 2020. That's about 2.5 years on the police force. Well, investigators have video of the arrest, but they say it will not be made public until the family of Tyre Nichols sees it first. The family has hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump to represent them. Crump says he will hold a news conference Monday afternoon with the family here in Memphis, and we will be there to cover it. Crump.
I have no idea if Tucker Carlson has commented on this. We'll check Fox right after
statement
this.
Tonight. We join Tyre's family in supporting the department's decision to terminate the 5 officers who brutalized him. This is the first step towards achieving justice for Tyre and his family. You want to stay with News Channel 3 for continuing coverage as we work to learn more about the officers who were fired and as we wait for the video to be released next week. Stay informed with News Channel 3's newscast and our webpage and with the WREG app.
Family of Tyre Nichols awaits the release of body cam video showing the final few moments of what led up to 29-year-old Nichols' death while in police custody. His family is expected to view the recordings before they will be joined by civil rights attorney Ben Crump for a press conference scheduled for 1 p.m. Monday.
But I have spoken with several folks that actually have seen the video. I have been told that it is disgusting, it is damaging. It's not good even slightly.
What happened after Nichols was pulled over by police is still shrouded in uncertainty, with police immediately saying only there were 2 confrontations between Nichols and police after he was pulled over. An image of Nichols bruised and on oxygen emerging during a protest held by his family days after he died in the hospital, leaving the FBI and TBI to investigate those circumstances. That body cam video has been held tightly, with few having seen it, and some, like East Memphis Councilman Frank Holvette, getting an account of what it shows.
It's bad. That was the one overarching comment that I heard.
Do you have any expectations or any possible expectations about how the city might react to seeing this video next week?
The city, the government, law enforcement are prepared for any eventuality.
The status of the investigation is unknown to him.
Okay, so we all know what that means. We all know what that means.
What we do know is that all 5 officers have been fired, and Colvette anticipates criminal charges resulting from a deep and independent investigation.
We're all going to be very disgusted and want the maximum penalty for these officers. What we don't want to do is meddle into the investigation.
Yeah, I think they know it's already going to be bad. I think they're very well aware that this is going to be bad. Honestly, I don't even give a fuck why they pulled him over or had this interaction with him. Like, this man should have not lost his life. Like, that's really all it comes down to. I'm wondering how Candace Owens is going to react to this news. Candace Owens is going to say that he was recklessly driving and he was drunk. That's what she's going to say. Driving while black is all he did. I'd have to agree with you.
The Memphis Police Department now firing 5 officers following its investigation into that confrontation with Tyre Nichols. This just days before the Nichols family and their attorney are expected to see the body camera video of what happened. ABC's Elwin Lopez joins us from Atlanta with the details. Elwin, good morning.
Hey, Wick, good morning. It started with a traffic stop and ended in tragedy. That 29-year-old landing in the hospital, dying just a few days later. Now those officers involved have been fired, and a warning to our viewers that some of these images might be disturbing to watch.
This morning, fallout at the Memphis Police Department. 5 officers fired, involved in a traffic stop that turned deadly. 29-year-old Tyre Nichols suffering critical injuries, dying 3 days later. The stop for alleged reckless driving. Police saying he ran off after a confrontation with officers. Then another confrontation occurred when they detained him. His family saying police beat him so severely he was unrecognizable. Ben Crump, the family's attorney, speaking with GMA overnight.
They took photographs of him in the hospital that showed him with huge contusions and abrasions on his face and head that they believe was part of the reason why Tyre is dead today. That brutal encounter with the police.
An internal police investigation concluding the officers violated department policies, including excessive use of force, duty to intervene, and duty to render aid.
Them being fired means that they did something horribly wrong on that video.
The body camera and surveillance videos are expected to be shown to Nichols' family Monday morning.
The only thing we've heard are the rumors that it's horrific and it's akin to the Rodney King video.
In a statement, the Memphis Police Department saying it is, quote, committed to protecting and defending the rights of every citizen in our city. The egregious nature of this incident is not a reflection of the good work that our officers perform within.
Before the Memphis Police Department releases this video, the video of the 5 MPD officers murdering Tyre Nichols during a routine traffic stop, and that heinous video inevitably goes viral, I want to amplify this video of Tyre living his best life. it's just really sad because that's not how the public is going to remember him. Once that body cam comes out, that's all people are going to be playing. You know, usually I'm pretty desensitized to stuff, you know, but I feel like this is going to fuck me up. You know, this story kind of reminded me of Emmett Till, but it also kind of reminded me of Mahsa Amini. I'm not saying they're similar, but like the police brutality and then dying in the hospital, it kind of just like gave me like weird flashbacks.
He was a good father, had a 4-year-old son who's going to grow up in this world. Ask him, why did the police kill my daddy?
The FBI and the Justice Department are also conducting a civil rights investigation. Now, the video of that incident is expected to be released to the public after the Nichols family takes a look at it next week. What?
All right, Ellen Lopez for us. Thank you.
It's so interesting how this isn't getting that much coverage. I mean, it's not interesting, but it's fascinating how Americans need like a gruesome body cam footage to give a shit.